there is actually genocide going on in Nigeria. So if we want to punish anybody for what is happening, it is the USA. We talk about Al-Qaeda, we talk about Shabab, we talk about ISIS, the list continue. Are we the only one? For me, I do not even blame the US for what is happening. And I don't blame Nigerian government. I blame us. It is because our scholars in Islam have failed us. Why is it that when we talk about terrorist acts, when we talk about insecurity, majority of these issues occur among Muslims? Yes, we have Christian terrorists. So if Muslims leaders fail to talk about the genocide of Muslims, then why are we disturbed about Christians talking about Christian genocide? I think we need to tell ourselves some basic truths. I think we will not be sincere with ourselves if we come to the conclusion that there is no genocide going on in Nigeria. Because every day in many parts of Borno, Benue, you see people stand for Salat, and some people will surround their mosque and blow up that mosque, and you say that is not genocide. What other name do you want to give to it if it's not genocide? One of the questions I answered on the minbar that I think it is the responsibility of every imam seated here to answer is that there is actually genocide going on in Nigeria. For me, there are basic questions that as an ummah we should ask ourselves. Is there truly a genocide going on in Nigeria? That question is too important for us to gloss over. Are Muslims truly involved and immersed in acts of terrorism? Because questions we must ask ourselves include, are we the only one on this globe of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? We talk about Jamaat al-Sunnah, the Nasri, Dawah wal Jihad, now Boko Haram. We talk about Jamaat Takfir wal Ijra that started in Egypt. We talk about Al-Qaeda, we talk about Shabab, we talk about ISIS, the list continue. Are we the only one? These are basic questions we need to ask ourselves. Among the questions we need to ask ourselves is that what is the task really before this community, this ummah, to address these challenges facing us? And these are my own ruminations about this question. 2 Juma ago, the khutbah I gave at the University of Ibadan partly addressed the problem of genocide in Nigeria and who are those truly responsible for this problem. From my own understanding of genocide, it is a political international term. When you understand that genocide involves a systematic killing, persecution of a community because of a label we have given to them, whether because they are Muslims or because they are from Hausa or they are from Igbo, then I think we will not be sincere with ourselves if we come to the conclusion that there is no genocide going on in Nigeria. Because every day in many parts of Borno, Benue, you see people stand for Salat, and some people will surround their mosque and blow up that mosque, and you say that is not genocide. What other name do you want to give to it if it's not genocide? One of the questions I answered on the minbar that I think it is the responsibility of every imam seated here to answer is that there is actually genocide going on in Nigeria. Muslims are daily being targeted, deliberately, calculatedly, organized, and we are supposed to have security in Nigeria. So if Muslims leaders fail to talk about the genocide of Muslims, then why are we disturbed about Christians talking about Christian genocide? I think we need to tell ourselves some basic truths. You see, to give my sermon, I was fortunate in August this year. My background is Islamic studies. But in August this year, I was invited for a conference in Ghana, DSI Africa. It is about data science in Africa. So I had a little knowledge of data science. To prepare that sermon, I went to the internet to look for data on the killing going on in Nigeria, to see whether it is systematic, whether it is organized, whether it is targeting a set of people deliberately. And what I found, specifically, you can check if you go to data fight briefs on claims of Christian genocide in Nigeria released by Data Fight Foundation. What I found is that yes, there is genocide going on in Nigeria. But the highest incidents of genocide going on in Nigeria, according to available data, are in the northwest, Zamfara, Katsina, Sokoto, northeast, Borno, Yobe, Adamawa, and north central, where the majority of those who are affected are Muslims. Yes, Christians are being killed, but their number does not even move close to the number of Muslims who are being killed. So let us tell the world that Christians are targeting the killing of Muslims, persecuting them. And there is need for a solution. That is the first point I want to make. The second point I want to make, I ask a question. Are we the only one? Why is it that when we talk about terrorist acts, when we talk about insecurity, majority of these issues occur among Muslims? Yes, we have Christian terrorists. You see, for the purpose of this discussion, I will refer us to two major works. The first one I mentioned on the Imam was the faculty lecture I gave to the Faculty of Arts in 2016, and it was published by the faculty in 2017. That faculty lecture is titled 9/11 versus 11/9, American Dream, Boko Haram, and terrorism in the world of Trump. So please, let's find time to read this work. The second one I'm adding to that is a work written by an Iranian. His name is Mahmoud Mamdani. Is the father of the man that has been elected as the mayor of New York. In 2004, he wrote a seminar work that has changed the thinking when people talk about terrorist activities. Before that work, what most scholars on terrorism say is that Muslims are responsible for terrorism. The origin is from Islam. It's because they read verses on jihad, they read verses on shahada and istishhad, and they read verses on irtidad, and that is why they think they can kill anybody and they will go to Al-Jannah. This is what people are saying about terrorism. But Mahmoud changed that thinking. Let us read that work. The work is titled Good Muslims, Bad Muslims, America, the Cold War, and the Roots of Terror. What is the root of terror? Terrorism did not come from Islam. And we can make bold to say that Muslims are not responsible for terrorism. Why do I say so? For two reasons he has given that work. Number one, the first time what we call in political science terrorism started was among the Jews in 70 BC. The Jews were the first people to practice what we are calling terrorism. Terrorism did not emerge from Islam. Number two, which is more fundamental, yes, when you go to Taliban, you see them blowing places. You go to Al-Qaeda, about their blemities. But Muslims are not responsible. Why? According to Mahmoud, when the US was forced to leave Vietnam, Vietnam happened in 1973. Before Vietnam, US would go to any country, invade the place, destroy the place, remove the government. That was what they were doing. But in 1973, for many factors, they were not able to achieve any of their goals. Just like they were not able to achieve it in Afghanistan for 20 years. So after 1973, they decided that they will not be physically involved in acts of terrorism. CIA will not be physically involved. What they will do is that they will create terrorist cells that they will be using to destabilize nations. And they created Al-Qaeda. See, he mentioned the amount of dollars that was spent to create Al-Qaeda. What you don't know, and I'm telling you now, is that they even went as far as training some of them in some madrasa in Saudi Arabia and Pakistan. What they did is that people who are learning Islam and mathematics, they were now telling them that if you are faced with a Russian soldier and you want to kill that person because that person is an enemy of Allah, what are you supposed to do? That was how they were introducing these terrorist doctrines among the Muslims. So if today we find group of Muslims like Boko Haram, like Taliban, it is not because of Islamic teachings. It is the handiwork of CIA. So if we want to punish anybody for what is happening, it is the USA. Finally, the last point I want to make, which is the most fundamental for me. For me, I do not even blame the US for what is happening. And I don't blame Nigerian government. I blame us. It is because our scholars in Islam have failed us. We have the solution to this problem. Let us use this solution. You see, I want to end, and that was what I used to end my sermon. with a statement made by Ali ibn Abi Talib when he said, he was talking about the Khawarij, and he made this statement. And I believe until we apply this statement to the latter, to establish the unity of this ummah, my belief is that we will not move forward. Ali ibn Abi Talib said, and I quote, Alayna salas, la nabda'ukum bikitali, wala namna'ukum masajid Allahi an taskuru isma Allahi fiha, wala namna'ukum min al-fay, ma damat aydikum ma'idina. Ma damat aydikum ma'idina. Until we bring this ummah together. I'm very passionate on this matter. Until we bring this ummah together, whether it is a Sufi, a Salafi, a Sunni, until we come together, we cannot achieve this victory. Remember Muhammad Sallallahu told us, it's in Sahih Muslim, we always forget this hadith when we want to split the ummah. Muhammad Sallallahu told us, he said, for Wallahi, inna Allah la yu'ayid az ad-din bi kafir wa fi riwayatin ukhra bil fajir wala yadkhul al jannah illa muslima. Allah can use anybody to establish this religion. So why must a Sunni say I will not work with a Sufi, a Tabligh, and you say because of the bid'ah they are doing, you cannot work with them? Until we come together and fight for this ummah, we will not get out of it. May Allah save us.
We appreciate the Chief Imam, University of Ibadan, Professor Ibrahim Uthman. It's loaded, but time is our constraint.